I hope you guys can hear me.
Most of the technical issues were my
No,
fault.
no. We just had it all the way across the board today. But I do want to say, Miss Hartz, you were the first person that walked in, and I said hi to you. I don't want to not say hi to you again. You feel our pain, I know. But it's good to see everybody here. Rolo, thanks for following. We saw you. I acknowledged you earlier as well. And thanks for everybody who stopped by. You guys already heard from the other guys. I'm Griffin Gaming RPG. We're going to jump right in. You guys see that our title for this week is Scam Citizen. And if you also notice on the bottom of the screen, there's a disclaimer that says we don't think Star Citizen is a scam, but we thought that the title that was due to fastcart. Fastcart told me to put that on there because he wanted to make sure we don't get kicked off. But the title of the show is actually 8 years and still here. So it's been 8 years. Some people might say 8, 9, 7, whatever the number is, and hopefully we're going to bring some clarity to that tonight. But everybody here, we do believe in the project for Star Citizens. We have our criticisms, and we will acknowledge that. There's no white knights in the room, but there are some strong advocates about Star Citizen, and hopefully we'll be able to address a lot of concerns and questions asked. Yes, there's a little bit of clickbait, Rollo. Okay, I'll admit it. There was some clickbait to that title. So anyway, let's jump in, guys. Younique, you were saying earlier that you started back in 2012 with the original backing. And I think one of the questions I asked you earlier was when you decided to back this, you mentioned because it was Chris Roberts. Did you have any concerns about the development, or were you pretty much just curious and kind of saying, let's see where this thing goes?
Well, I'd done some crowdfunding things up until that point. And when they started and it was a Chris Roberts game, I was all in. It was only like $60 to buy the package, which is what I did. And but I'm a software engineer myself, so I knew it was going to take 10 years to do. I believe the original asking was for like 10 million. He was putting up like 2 million himself. He's trying to raise 2 million, and then he had some people that would commit the other 6 million as like a studio that would fund it the rest of the game, and that's what the original thing was going to be. And again, it was only pretty much just going to be Squadron 42, so how hard could it be? So with $60 I was in. I didn't believe it was a scam at all.
Okay. And so the whole thing, I know crowdfunding back then was kind of popular, but it wasn't really popular in relation to video gaming. I know a lot of independents were doing it, some smaller companies. Did the crowdfunding aspect kind of mess with you at all, or were you kind of like, yeah, for the deal, what I'm getting, it's not a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of artists from music and shows and things like that. I had backed a couple of small independent movies before. It was a changing time coming, and lots of solos going out there. I think Prince had decided he was going to do some solo stuff on funding things and going solo. So that was kind of the trend, was just starting then. And again, it was hey, it's $60. Everything I've seen Chris Roberts pretty much produce and get out the door. I didn't really care if it was a publisher or not. I liked the idea and I was backing it. That's basically it.
Okay, cool. Gio, what about you, man? When did you jump into this whole thing?
For me, I jumped in back in March 2014. I decided to buy my first package. But before that, I was kind of following the project. But how I followed the project was because I was actually following a game called No Man's Sky, which many of you know what that is. At the time when I first seen that game, that was my Star Citizen that I wanted to be, like the trading and hanging out with your friends and flying chips and going to different planets. And then I kept seeing people in the comments like, oh yeah, Star Citizen is going to shit on this game and blah, blah, blah. I kept seeing that multiple times. So I'm like, all right, enough. Let me go see what this game's about, because I'm tired of seeing Star Citizen. And then I went to go look up what Star Citizen was, and I fell in love. Like it made me jump into PC gaming. Between that and DayZ are the two games that really pushed me to PC gaming. So that's when I started backing, and then I've been backing ever since then.
Now, if my memory serves me correct, excuse me, if my memory serves me correct, it's interesting that you mentioned to me that you were a No Man's Sky advocate at first, but you also were one of the first people I saw who threw up red flags about No Man's Sky. Because I didn't know you were a big advocate for it, but I remember when you were kind of saying, I don't think this thing is going to be what they're claiming it's going to be. Isn't that correct?
Why did y'all delete my Noob Fire? Y'all are trolls. Hi, Noob. Yeah. Well, I started seeing the red flags. Well, really because of Star Citizen, I start seeing the red flags because so we get spoiled to how development with Star Citizen is. So you get to see every little well, not every detail, but a lot more details than pretty much any game out there. So when they give us like the little snippets of that and little snippets of that, like whatever they were doing, it wasn't adding up to the hype of what I was looking forward to. Because all the tech that Star Citizen has showed me and got me into, I'm always looking at these games like, Star Citizen's already doing that. The tech, Star Citizen is already doing that. So at E3 and Gamescom, all these games, I don't even get hype no more. I like the tech that we always see is amazing with Star Citizen. So that's when my red flags kind of went up. I'm like, I don't think this little team is going to be able to do it. And then Sony had kind of, I think, backed them or gave them some money to put on their platform first. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be that type of deal. The publisher's going to make them rush. And even now, they're still trying to play catch up with the DLC and stuff and things like that. And the game is just still not there. Some of the main components of the game just aren't there. The gunplay is real floaty. The spaceship combat is kind of meh. So it's not. It just wasn't up to par to what I thought Star Citizen was going to be. But it's not fair to put them up to was it a $400 million project compared to however much they had. They got wiped out and had to start all over again. So who knows? The game probably could have turned out different if PS4 or Sony never would have came in and helped them with their money. So
that's a good point.
I have a quick question for Gio. You said you were a console player before you moved to PC.
Absolutely, I was an absolute player. Never played a Chris Roberts game. I was just sold off the hype project, everything he was showing. I'm like, holy cow, I didn't know this stuff could be done. So that's how I got sold into it.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, now and here's another piece I do want to throw in. For those of us, matter of fact, all of us were around at this particular time. You mentioned about No Man's Sky. The other game that people were saying was going to be the game, quote unquote, was Elite Dangerous. And both of those games, and I remember, I remember backing Elite early. I didn't jump into No Man's Sky. And the reason why I didn't jump into No Man's Sky was that I did not necessarily like the look of the game because it kind of had the kind of cartoony thing to it. And nothing against that, because a lot of people like that. That's one of the reasons why I don't play World of Warcraft. You know what I mean?
I usually don't either, but I was just sold on the spaceship. Right. I'm like, whatever, I'll look past it.
Right. And of course, they were talking some big stuff. In Elite, I think I saw that, which looked much more realistic. But it was it was interesting how different people were kind of almost pitting those games against Star Citizen, where other people were saying, no, they're all very different. They all kind of have their own flavor. I think we liked the fact that there were more space games coming out because there hadn't been any PC space games for God only knows how long. But it was also kind of bad that people were trying to use the other games and say, well, look, Elite Dangerous is already out and it's got this and it's got that, or people were saying, No Man's Sky's going to come out, it's going to blow Star Citizen out of the water. And yet and still, both those games are still, as you said, Gio, are actually still being developed. Even now, after people have paid cash for it, some of them are paying for DLC to continue it. At least the guys with No Man's Sky are smart enough to try to keep their word. They ain't charging for all their updates. But Elite, you had to drop dimes to keep up with Elite, which is a whole nother story.
Well, to be fair, they're both MMOs, so MMOs are never really finished.
Yeah.
They keep on, but Star Citizen is going to be the same way when it finally launches.
Yeah, their business.
Well, the problem with Elite. I bought the game too. People think I hate on that game, but I bought it to want to have fun. But when I see stuff is wrong, it pisses me off. When you charge for stuff like multiplayer and you have to charge a premium to land on planet, that's a fucking problem. That just, you're gonna split the community so bad with stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure when you could walk around in your spaceship, I bet you that's gonna be on the DLC pack too. So if you bought the base bundle like me, you can't do any of the like a lot of the cool stuff that's out there. You cannot do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a major problem. I understand you got to get your money and all that, but there's got to be a better way, especially in your community like that with features like that. Pay to feature. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
I got bought into Elite Dangerously, the $75 on the first offering out there. And within a couple of months, the game still wasn't quite working. And they came back with another offering asking for more money. And I was like, I don't understand. I didn't get what I paid for the first time. So I'm not signing back into that. And I had bought that game to actually fill the gap until Star Citizen was done. I was looking forward to playing it, but it just wasn't there.
Yeah. Good point. Well, listen, I want to jump a little bit here and change the channel and kind of get us into the motion of what's going on next. Fastcart, if you could talk a little bit about this, the Escapist, because this was one of the first articles that popped up that started this whole questioning the development cycle for Star Citizen. Can you tell us a little bit about the Escapist issue? Do you remember any of it?
Yes, the Escapist issue was back in 2015. I can find the exact date real quick. I think it's
It was October 2015.
October 2015. Thank you. So yeah, basically it's talk about how, as the title says, employees speak out against the project, saying how, well, some of the things, there's allegedly some racism and ageism and other stuff going on about the project. As far as I remember, some people were let go over this article, and it got picked up by a bunch of other places like Forbes and other magazines. But and then Star Citizen, there's another article that says Star Citizen putting a lawsuit against the Escapists. And as far as I know, the Escapists issued some corrections or something like that. And I don't know what happened to the lawsuit, or if there was ever one.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember them saying that there was a lawsuit, but I never heard anything come of that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, oh, and let me say this as a disclaimer. There's some issues that were particular about the year 2014. For those of you who remember, Chris at one point in one of his interviews had talked about how he expected to have Squadron 42 out by 2014. Now, I think this is another issue that there's been a lot of confusion because people quite often mix up Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. They throw them in the same bucket. And Younique, you were around when you did the original backing. Your original backing was for Squadron 42, right? Star Citizen came up as a thought later on. Is that correct, when you originally backed?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely correct. So it was originally for Star Citizen or for Squadron 42, and one of the stretch goals was to move into the persistent universe. They had to actually raise money to vote for it and decide that, yes, we want you to make an MMO out of it. And so that came much later, and then that started some of the revamping, which obviously extended the timelines. But everybody was okay with that. It's like, hey, that's what we want. That's what we're paying for. So revamp it, make it what we need to do so we can get the game we're paying for.
And I'm glad you said that, because people often wanted to use the term feature creep. And to a degree, there was some feature creep, but it was also by consensus. Yeah, but it was also by consensus, because they put that out there for the community, and the community said, wow, this sounds great. Yeah, if you want to do that, we'll throw some more money into the pot to see you develop and take this thing even further. So I really want to make it clear that the difference between, there was never a timeline, a date set for Star Citizen. There was a date set in relation to Squadron 42. And as we know, later on, it became a running joke where Chris was told that basically he would get in trouble if he ever said any more dates again. You know, I think Fastcart, we were in 2016 down in LA. Gio, you were down there too, in fact. And
yes, sir, had a ball.
Yeah, Chris made a joke about the fact that his staff would kill him if he ever decided to say a date again. Okay, so that's one of the things I do want to point out. Now, here's one that I know will get some blood pressure going. Some of you all might remember this particular image.
On Discord.
Yeah, lost you.
I'm sure this image will probably raise some blood pressure, but some of you might be able to talk about it. Gio, do you remember anything about this picture in particular?
I mean, obviously, he's blowing all the backers' money. You know? He's not building the game. He's got a yacht. He took the money and ran off, obviously. But I see a guy enjoying his birthday.
Yeah, tell the story about it. What was going on with that?
Having a good time. I forgot which birthday this was. Was it 2 years ago?
It was in 2015, but it was his birthday. You're absolutely right.
It was his birthday. I remember the picture with Sandy. That's my first time seeing one with Sandy.
Mm-hmm.
And then people depict it as, okay, he took the backers' money, as if Chris didn't already have money before he even started this project.
Say that again. Say that again, please.
They act like Chris didn't have money before he started Star Citizen. I, for one,
like he made movies or anything.
This is the thing. I never even knew. So this is when I kind of like had to look. I went back to his games and movies. I look back because I didn't know at the time. I didn't know who Chris was. Never played his game. I was a council peasant, and I've seen what's the movie with Nicolas Cage?
got a war.
War.
What was it?
Lord of War, something like
Yeah.
that.
That's it.
And all his Wing Commander series, and Wing Commanders even had a movie, and I didn't even know all this stuff was Chris. So he's been making money, had boats, had matches before any Star Citizen stuff. So all the trolls saying, "Oh, he's blowing all your money." All right. What are you talking about?
Right.
I mean, they still have money to this day. They're getting investments, so I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, you really should ask where the first $2 million come from. The very first $2 million was put into the pot by Chris Roberts.
Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people, to your point, Younique, a lot of people didn't even know that Chris actually had people that were investors who wanted to put money into this thing. And he actually decided to switch the gear and say, let's see if we can get this, if the community wants it. Because getting money was not the issue. You know, it would be kind of like, and I hate to use this as a crude illustration, but it would be like as if George Lucas says, okay, I'm going to start a new film. You know what I'm saying? There'd be people, you know, waiting with their wallets open to say, hey, can we invest in this sucker? And there were plenty of people that wanted to invest in the thing, but yet and still, there were only a few people. In fact, there were some investors that pulled out, if I'm remembering correctly. In fact, on one of our videos that we're going to show in a little bit later, one of the guys who was an initial investor, he talks about how he pulled his money out and why he did, but I'm sure he's regretting it at this stage, you know, because I don't think anybody ever expected this game to exceed, well, you know, at that time, what was it, 8 million to 20 to 50 to 60 to 75 to where are we going on 300 now? We're heading toward 300 million.
Almost 300. No, almost 280. I
Yeah,
think.
280 now.
But at the beginning, I think he said he wanted like 6 million or something like that from. Oh, he expected to only get maybe like 2 million from crowdfunding, and then he would get the rest of it from publishers. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. He was going to go with a publisher, I believe. But as the money started coming in and say, we don't need a publisher now.
Yeah, they blew by the 10 million that they were trying to get like within a couple of days. It was just crazy.
Yeah, publishers like we were talking about earlier, they've ruined a lot of the games that come out. I mean, if the money doesn't come in, you know, a lot of these devs, they're pretty much going to go down. So they kind of have to bend to the publisher's rules if they don't get that money from them. But with this project, you don't have to worry about that. That's what I really love. The backers are put money into it. That's why people get so whiny and crybaby about that. Like, oh, now why they're still making money? Well, it's a business. At the end of the day, it still needs to make money. And the money is going in. I mean, from what I'm looking at, to me, the money is going in the right places. Stuff is steady getting better. You look at something from 2015 to now, and I dare you to say it doesn't look better right now than it did in 2015. We did that
a couple of weeks ago with the Idris.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, even with the Vandal even looks good. The character models, you can't just say, oh, they took the money and run off. You're full of shit when you say that.
No, you're right. We were just, I think a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about remembering when we first got on the Connie and how pretty we thought that thing looked. And now when you go back and look at it, you know, it looks like they just, you know, it's like it's game design 101, you know, compared to how it looks now. You know what I mean? So you're right. You can see where the money's being invested. Not to mention, 5-6 studios globally, you know, the staff that's working there. And if there weren't money, those same voices would be the ones complaining about, see how they ran out of money, they spent all the money up, blah, 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 blah. So you can't have it both ways. You can't have them making money and bringing in revenue and at the same time complain about it. If they lose the money, then you're going to say, well, the project was a failure.
Exactly.
Well, you know, different people complaining about different things. So you have people complaining they don't make enough money, they don't have any money. Then you have people saying they make too much money and they're not spending it right.
Right.
So different people. They're never ever the same people saying the same thing.
That's very true.
Well, I can tell you the one thing that hooked me from the day one was all the videos that they put out, even way back in 2012, were all in the in-game engine.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Today, that engine back then was terrible, but during that time frame, it was amazing. I was like, well, if he's already putting it in the in-game engine, the video, they obviously put in a bunch of work and time and effort before they even came and asked for the money.
Right.
You know what?
We've got an engine. We're building a game. Now we need to start getting some money so we can finish it.
I think it's, go ahead, Gio.
No, go ahead.
Real quick, I think another thing to point out is that in 2014, I was using maybe a 670, a GTX 670 NVIDIA, and in 2012 we probably had the 470 or the 480, which was the highest, and now you have like the 2080 coming out soon. So I mean, over the years, the technology has changed, and the game has to change to keep up with the technology.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They've been doing a good job with that too, keeping up with the tech, making sure it's staying on top. Because just think, what if we kept them same graphics and stuff from 2015? Then people would have been bitching about that. Oh, it still looks the same.
Yeah.
But then you say, oh, well, it looks different. What's the difference now? The money's going to keeping up with the tech. Oh, well, it's taking too long. So it's like, which do y'all want?
Right.
But like Younique said, one of the main things that kept me going and kept, backing the game is like the smoke and mirrors effect of the game. Just recently, last E3, where they kind of like faked the demo with the mission, like that was faked. But before that, like the main tech going to the planet, going in your ship, and actually like them showing us that you can actually do that and actually working. Before that, we would get the smoke and mirrors at E3. So that was one of my main things with this game. Like, okay, what he's showing and what he's talking about, he can actually do. He's just not talking shit.
Right.
Because I see a lot of, I think back Destiny at E3. I remember I got hyped about that. Oh, that whole thing you see back there, you could travel way over there. And then it was like when you got the game, you couldn't even go past the barrier. You died once you go past. Just stupid and cheap. But that was one of the main things that turned me to Star Citizen.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. All right, well, we're going to change gears here. I would ask Younique, you're closest to Gio, if you would give him some Valium, because I'm about to read from the line of defense's thing on Steam.
Line of defense.
So this was a question that someone presented to he who has no name and will not be called by name. All right, this was the question. Okay. It said, I noticed that this is in relation to the game Line of Defense. I noticed that there is a space combat and planet surface combat. Can you fly off the planet's surface and go into space without any transitions? Or is there some sort of screen and consolidated entry point into the planet's surface mode of play? I'd be interested to know. So that was one of the questions that someone asked on his thing, and this was the response that he who shall be nameless, his response was, he says, yes, once you move from one scene, planet, station, carrier, or space.
We lost you, girl.
Oh,
yeah, I can't hear him.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm clicking buttons here. So this was the response that he who has no name or will not be named says. He says, yes, once you move from one scene, planet, station, carrier, or space, the target scene is loaded and your position is updated. There is no seamless transition because that would require all the scenes, see World of Line of Defense, to be loaded, and that would require lots of memory and a 16 gig minimum requirement. It says make it a performance nightmare because that would be difficult and it would limit the population per scene and lead to an even bigger performance problem. Games like this have to compromise something in order to work properly. Now, that was the response, that it was not possible to be done. And then this was the final clincher. That sort of feature is decades away. Even Star Citizen with 75+ million in funding can't pull that off for the same reasons. So basically,
and this was on March 15th, 2015.
Yes. So it was prophesied that there would be no such thing as being able to take off from a planet and go into space without there being some type of load screen or transition. And I'm sure all of you guys agree with that, right?
As a software engineer, all I can say is that is limited thinking, limited engineering concepts. Almost anything can be done with computers and software. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Wow, that's deep. I mean, and to your point, that is almost a limited vision, right? That says that we're not going to even try to tackle it because you've put the glass ceiling there and said, well, it can't be done, right?
And that's exactly how you go nowhere.
Now, here's my question to you guys. Why do you think gamers were willing to swallow that? Because there were gamers who listened to that and said, yeah, that makes sense. No, it can't be done. Why do you think of all, the most imaginative people out there should be video gamers or the ones who want to push tech? Why do you think the gamers went on ahead and agreed with that type of thinking?
Well, if you look at some of the AAA games nowadays, they're not taking any risks. If you're not an established AAA game, you rarely see like cool tech. When is the last cool AAA that you've seen with awesome tech? I mean, Red Dead Redemption for me, I was looking at that thing. I'm like, holy cow, look at the tech in this game. before that, what was it? Even Grand Theft Auto was even good. Like Rockstar is one of the few studios that they try to outdo the next project. A lot of these other games, it's steady. It's the cookie cutter recipe. They don't want to go too far. They don't want to take risks. Oh, they may not like this. We'll just make a shitty sequel to the multiplayer every game, call it booty, and we'll just do the same thing over.
Call of Duty had new tech every single year it comes out.
Yeah, okay.
So here's the problem with those development teams. You are limited by the tools that you have. And so they don't build those game engines. They acquire them from other sources and utilize them. So if you don't have the ability to change the game engine, the amount of memory it uses, the way it uses things, then you're limited in what you can do in your development and the design of your stuff, because it has to fit around to all the cookie pieces that you put in. It's like Legos. Okay, I got a game engine, I got a TCP/IP stack for moving the network stuff. And if all that stuff's written by somebody else, you can't change those things. You have to just build on top of them. And whatever limits they have, those are limits you have. But Star Citizen is free from that. They instantly said, look, we're not going to be limited to 4 CPUs or 4 cores in a box. The game was pegged for 6 and 8 cores to start with. They weren't even out when Chris Roberts said that. We're like, what? Okay.
And I'm going to make a serious point here. Also, a lot of games are based on consoles, which consoles stay the same for like 6 or whatever generation, however long the generation lasts. So there's no need to make new features or make new progress, because a console will stay static. So
that's
the limitations, right?
Well, that's another thing though. But in a budget, like when they make their budgets, they used to have a department where you could make different tech. Okay, we're gonna try this in this game. We're gonna try that. Not too many games do that, or they don't invest that much money into it. It may be like a little game mode or something. But these developers used to have that in house. Where, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that with the engine, and there's really no more market for it. So luckily now with this crowd development, you are able to do that. That's why a lot of people look at some of these Kickstarter games. Hey, we're trying to do this, that, and the third, and it'll be in stretch goals, or it'll be the main selling point on Kickstarter. Try to do something different than these other AAA games, because they have to do something to stand out. The other AAA studios, they don't have to do that.
Yeah. And the other thing that Kickstarter campaigns get you, even if some of these things fail, they actually accomplish some new tech that can be utilized in games down the road. That's what you're sort of paying for in this environment. It's like, okay, yeah, it's kicked off $65 and the game failed, but if some tech came out and it makes its way into a future game, you actually help develop that. That's not a bad thing.
Very true.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very true. In the video we just saw, that gave us the example that, and if you guys remember the story behind this, that whole being able to transition from space to planet was done by a CIG employee who just took off some time on the weekends on his own, off the clock, and worked on being able to create that, and came to work one day and said, hey guys, I got something for you to take a look at. And it just kind of blew everybody out the water. Something that Chris actually thought was going to take at least another year or 2 to develop. This guy did it on the side and developed that technology. So I think there's some pretty innovative stuff and some smart people working at CIG, if you ask me. So
that's another thing I love about CIG. They let people get creative. Yeah. They let people work on stuff. Like even Chris probably told him, like, hey, we don't have time to do it on this, but if there's some way you could get it done on your off time and bring it to me, we'll start working on this right away. That's probably what he did.
Yep.
And showing Chris, because Chris is getting, like, I don't know if you guys pay attention of why what's that Crytek is so salty at CIG. CIG pretty much snatched up all their talent on the Cry-end and have them working for them now. Right. Sean Tracy, who's the other one who's doing the weapons stuff? If I got his name, he's doing like a lot of the weapon attachments. But all these guys are the geniuses of Crytek, and they left because Crytek was not paying its employees. So that's why they switched over to Star Citizen, and they couldn't sue Star Citizen for taking their employees because they weren't paying them. So they tried to get Star Citizen on some other petty shit, which I think Star Citizen should have fought. They shouldn't have settled out of court. Step on their
No,
next.
they did.
Yeah, they settled. I don't think they should have settled. I think they should have stepped on it.
Don't think okay, my bad. I thought you said they should have.
Don't settle and get that money back from. That's why I think they should have, because Crytek had nothing. But that's really why they were really salty in the first place, because we took all their work. So and that's why you see all this amazing tech, and we could bend the engine to do whatever we want, because everyone's like, oh, we should do this engine, we should do that engine. At the end of the day, it's bending an engine to make it do what you want. All engines, you have to find out what does this, that does that, and bend it to whatever you want to do.
Good point.
So instead of taking decades, this all took less than 2 years, basically, right?
Basically, yeah. Not bad. All right. Well, listen.
Still under 10 years.
Yeah, for real. Here's one. I want you guys to check out this video. This would give you some interesting perspective here.
Mahoney in chat says there's a growing problem of ship escalation in Star Citizen to the point where the fundraising is having massive impacts on the potential future of gameplay. Ships now are for the whales that exist as backers, and that affects how individual players may become reliant on more wealthy backers to fully experience the game. Derek, you brought up the whales earlier. Would you agree?
I agree, but I can tell them, I can safely tell them not to worry about it. The game is never going to get done. It's never going to get shipped. They never have to face that problem. It's an easy problem to ignore. The problem really is not about who's buying these ships, because CIG, it's hilarious, but 5 years later, they have no idea about the game's business model. None. Nobody knows what LTI is or how it works. Nobody knows how you're going to earn these ships, how you're going to pay for them. Half the things you can do with these ships don't exist. So all they're doing is exactly what Chris was doing. The more money he got, the more he expanded the scope. So in this regard, the more ships they can sell, as concepts or JPEGs or whatnot, the more things they add to the game without knowing how they're going to affect the gameplay. Guess what's going to happen in the end? If this game ever ships, which I don't believe it will, and somebody has a huge, $3,000, $5,000 chariot, and somebody has to play 2, 3, 4, 5 months to get in there, but guess what? They automatically have the disadvantage. So it's a very, very huge problem. And this person in chat is, he expressed exactly what other backers are saying, is that all the people who got in now have a huge advantage over people who may or may not come later on, and that's because CIG really hasn't sat down and figured out the game's business model, or how they're going to be balanced.
Okay. This game will never ship. Just remember that, guys. This game will never ship. It'll never happen. This person raises a question saying that the whales are basically buying up everything, and when little people come in later on, they won't be able to play. Any thoughts on that?
First of all, I am not smart. I am a complete ignorant fuck who knows nothing about developing games, and I always have my nose up Christ Roberts' ass because I'm a fucking loser who wants to be just like him. Buy my game, Line of Dicks, and I'm pretty sure you would like it. I can't do any of that tech because it's 10 years away from me because I'm a fucking idiot. But yeah, that is my rant for today.
Well done.
Tell us how you really feel, Gio.
They stopped shipping games God knows how long ago. I mean, everybody downloads the game, so he's got that one right. It will not.
Yeah, I mean, there is some irony to this, and for those of you who also don't know, I think one of the Geos mentioned this back in one of his earlier videos I saw. Derek actually started on his own game back in 2010, 2011, called Line of Defense, and we kind of thought there was kind of like a, people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, because at the same time he was criticizing Chris and CIG, he also was having difficulty getting his own game out, which he claimed many of the ideas CIG took from his game, which was kind of interesting. And some of the ship designs, he even said, were influenced from stuff in his game. But here, the point I want to raise is him saying that the game will never come out. And this was in 2018, by the way, guys. So this wasn't too long ago. This was on Game Talk Live. And there's another clip I want to show you from them. So take a quick look again, because he continues on with this with another question.
Then in chat, given enough time and money, they will have a game, but how much is needed? Decades and hundreds of millions. Derek, in your eyes, what would it take to complete everything that's been promised from a price standpoint and from a time standpoint?
You've answered this question before. Haven't you, Derek?
I've answered. This is the one question everybody asks me. So, and my answer hasn't changed. There's not a single amount of money in the world that's going to build this game, because it's not about how much money you have. It's about the talent. It's about the engine. The people who are building this game, none of them has ever built or shipped an MMO, and that's an absolute fact. Unless I'm missing something, they haven't done it. Most of them are on an R&D stint where they're learning as they go, which is great, because guess what? All this talent that the backers are now paying for, even though, and this is just me being selfish, even though we look at this as a waste of money, these talented guys, I mean, they're super, we know some of these guys, right, Michael? Kevin, we know these guys. They're super talented guys working on this game. And most of these guys have never done anything like this before. So backers are paying for these guys to learn on the job. So whether Star Citizen fails or succeeds, these guys will move on with what they've learned and bring those experiences to other games, because that's how our industry works. So at this point in time, it's not a amount of money. You couldn't throw another $100 million to build a game. You need an engine to build a game, and you need the talent to build the game. Well, hey, we've got $200 million. In 5 years, we're in pre-alpha. Well, do the math. I'm a developer. I can tell you right now, another $200 million, another 5 years is not going to build this game.
Developer. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
When you're a developer too, and you're looking at, I mean, look at.
Okay, you're not going to build this game, guys. It's not going to happen. So did you put in for your refund yet?
I like how he says that he's a developer and tries to explain to the world that somehow he has an insight of how much these things particularly cost. And the truth is actually staring you right in the face. He says that they haven't done it before. Well, they haven't done an MMO before, but they've done successful games before on a worldwide scale. He hasn't done that himself, so how can he come?
Wow, I didn't think about that. Good point.
My question: who died and made him like the god developer? Like he's the go-to guy. Interviewing him like it's some CNN bullshit.
Well,
This guy, you can tell a warlord of his grandma's basement. This dude is a loser. He said he has millions and he lives in Florida and blah blah blah. All he does is sniff Chris's jockstrap because he wanted to work for Star Citizen and they turned his dumbass down. He was promoting his game on the Facebook page. That's how I first knew about him before any of this. Escapists used him as sources because you know when it's not smart talk when he mentions JPEGs and all kind of other dumb stuff. So I don't know why this guy has so much credit. Like when we watch things on sports and analysts, we usually listen to people who won rings, people who've been in the Hall of Fames with sports. What the fuck has this guy done to be such a critique dude? Like, if I want to hear someone critique Star Citizen, what can be done? I want to hear some motherfuckers from Rockstar, maybe Bethesda. I want to hear some big games, not some loser that made a game that looks like you could play on your fucking phone back from 2004. Not that bullshit.
Take that back. Phones are coming a long way from now.
All I can say is I only equate Derek Smart in this digital computing gaming world to like Jim Jones. That's basically it. Drinking Kool-Aid and following him for no apparent reason whatsoever.
Well, apparently we're the Kool-Aid drinkers. That's what they say.
Well, but to that point, that brings a good question. What is the hatred about? I mean, when we really think about it, I mean, to your point, Gio, I mean, some people know Derek's history in the sense of way back from the Battlecruiser 3000 days back in the 80s when he and Chris got started, but most people don't. And it's not like he had all this great evidence of work, that he presents that gives him a valid place to be critical. So what's happened within the gaming community that people were so quick to embrace the scam side of this? And I mean, don't get me wrong, I came up in the day where gamers dreamed of games like this. We wanted developers to do this. So what happened? What turned the clock that gamers became cynical, didn't want to dream anymore, basically, and say, nah, it can't be done? You guys got any thoughts of what's happened? Is it because of the way games have been churned out? Is it the cynical because of the disappointment of the stuff we've been playing the last 10, 15 years? What's the deal with that?
I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, because the internet gives you anonymity to say stuff without consequences, there's a lot more us versus them camp and unfortunately, because it's us versus them, the them has to be lower or worse than you are for you to be better or good. And that, I mean, and I'm not saying that's how it should be, but that's how some people feel that it is.
I think it's just a lot of the actual games and the technology from the engines. They were all pretty stagnant, and the vision of new things just couldn't be seen. They were being seen in the light of like Unity and CryEngine and things like that. And so Star Citizen requires new engines, bigger, better thought patterns, new analysis, and that just wasn't really available from the menagerie of things that were available to be used at the time.
One of the things I think early on, it wasn't that bad. I think it's the other failed Kickstarter projects. I mean, there's so many of them that got scanned out. Matter of fact, the one recently, it's funny that y'all moved the scam episode up to this date. Just last week, a game called Chronicles of Illyria, which I backed for $40. They just completely shut down, and they just asked for more money last month for selling land.
Wow.
They knew they were going down, and we're still selling land. In the articles, I haven't been saying nothing. It's been quiet. Let that would have been Star Citizen, because they were selling this shit up to that point. So, and they weren't showing no gameplay, no nothing. Because I'm like, this game not getting another dime from me till I see some tech. There was no gameplay, no nothing. And then they had an alpha test the week before they shut down. So I'm like, this is a scam. This is the definition of a scam right here. I mean, I've been burned on other projects. So like people getting mad, we're getting mad at all the kicks, the milestones stuff we were hitting. At least they were putting the money back in the game. They could have just said, well, fuck it, we about to pocket this money, which y'all already accused Chris doing already. They could have just said, fuck it, we ain't finna add nothing else. Y'all gonna get what we already got. There's a lot of Kickstarters that have already done that. So I'm actually glad they put the money back into the game and are adding more stuff to it. Because I've been burned on Kickstarter probably about 4 times with some projects. So I can see why people are like, oh, it's a scam, or you want to see it to fail. But even games I'm not even into, I want them to succeed. I want it to be a good project, because really the indie games are going to give us the games that we want. I mean, AAA, I don't see too many AAA games coming out giving us what we want, because they don't have the money. They're not listening to the community. They listen to stockholders and publishers. That's what the developers have to listen to in that type of situation. But when you're in an indie game, you have more flexibility. So I think that's why probably games are, people want to see them fail or think it's going to be a scam. They just don't know what the fuck they're looking for.
Also,
I know if I'm scamming somebody, I'm not hiring 300 plus people.
Good point.
Yeah, I'm just not
also,
doing
there's
that.
another issue is that Star Citizen has made so much money. It is successful in terms of crowdfunding, that people want to see it fail, because that would be like, some people don't want it to fail because they want the system to stay the status quo. They don't want to see things change. And some people think Star Citizen has gotten so big, they just want to see a giant tumble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but it would be horrible for the crowdfunding community if Star Citizen failed as well.
Yeah.
The people don't think about
That's true. I was sitting here looking at the conversation that both Kimmy and Montoya were having. They were talking about Mass Effect 3 and whether that game was a good game when it came out. And I think that this goes back to something that Gio, you mentioned earlier when you talked about what happened with No Man's Sky. When a publisher pushes to get something out and the developer doesn't have it completely polished, it's not completely there. A lot of times publishers will say, they'll publish a date, say this game's coming out December 24th, 2020. And guess what? The clock is running. If there are delays, a game ends up coming out that's not completely finished. And it's a shame, because Mass Effect has an incredible legacy of games, but there was definitely the feeling that it just was not ready for prime time when it was released. And it was a turnoff for a lot of people. And
EA don't give a fuck.
Well, EA,
I mean, we've
Sony,
seen that with the other game too.
Sony's the other one that does that, because Sony's Anthem was another one. Yep.
Anthem, they want to try to fix it up. Like, the game's out. We're gonna do patches to fix the game.
Right.
It's too late now, motherfucker. Y'all pushed out bullshit. You lied about everyone at E3. It's too late now.
Yeah.
The damage is done. I'm not going back to that game, but I never even bought it. I seen the smoke screen at E3.
That's a scam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel that's more scammy than the other way.
Which one?
Well, they still got a
putting
product
out something that doesn't
it's
really
not done.
work.
Yeah, when it's not there. Yeah.
What good is that?
Yeah.
That was an early access game. If you think about it, that's exactly what Anthem was. See, these AAA developers think they could do that with these publishers. Okay, we'll just put a game out, early access, and patch it through. Same thing with No Man's Sky, but man, the damage is like pretty much done at that point.
And there was a time, and they
Montoya
go ahead, fastcart.
Montoya has a point. Is that Anthem was pushed out early, and it was pushed out early because it had a publisher.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Once again, the publishers are the ones that push the pressure on the developers for getting the games. And when they're not ready, and if they've spent millions of dollars on PR and marketing, then they push them to get it out the door. And the sad part about it is that technically, back in the day, you could not have operated a business like that. If you put out a game and people collected all this money, some people are not only paying $59 or $60, they're buying all the pre-stuff. They're paying $80, $100 for these games, and then they get them and they're not done. I agree. I'd be mad as you know what. That's why I hate to even buy pre-game stuff. I won't even do it anymore unless it's something I can't remember the last time I pre-ordered anything, just because I just don't trust the way the industry's been responding.
Maybe the day before, so I can have it pre-downloaded.
Oh, like for that reason.
Night before. That's it. I'm not gonna do it months in advance though, so I can show the publishers the money.
How much are you really saving by pre-ordering the day before? Like 5 hours of download or something like that? Just cause
it depends on the game. It depends on the game. Like when ESO came out, I beta tested ESO, and when that came out, they did this thing, and it's the only time I've ever done this, where it was $100 and you got this big statue and all this other premium stuff. I mean, I did it for that reason, but I just can't do it for the games now. It's just that now when stuff comes out, you just don't know what the state of it is going to be, no matter what you think.
I still pre-order for stuff like digital stuff, or armors and stuff like that, but I very seldom.
Yeah.
Montoya, it's hard for me to feel bad for BioWare once they sold to EA. I'm sorry, bro. they were a hell of a developer, but the reason why the games been getting shittier and shittier over the years, some of the main people at BioWare are gone. They got the fuck up out of there because they got Ep.5. Yeah. Same thing with DICE. DICE was a hell of a developer before EA just, well, we're going to fuck you guys over, start pushing out shitty Battlefield games, getting shittier and shittier after each one.
Yeah, EA has killed studios.
That's the EA effect. I bet you right now, if BioWare or DICE left, they could probably make a Kickstarter game and make a hell of a game people are backing. Bring back all the old people and make an awesome game.
I don't think the old people want to come back.
They probably don't, but they would have to leave. It would have to be EA though.
EA has killed studios. They really have, and it's not just one or two. It's like anybody that goes under their umbrella. It just seems like they're just cursed. I don't know. I don't get it. Listen,
and recently I've seen one article saying that Star Citizen is making so much money that they should have a developer in order to push the game out.
A publisher? You mean?
Yeah, a publisher.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
They're way past. They don't even need a publisher.
Yeah, I agree. But that article coming out like March 31st or March 30th saying that they need a publisher.
Okay. Well, speaking of publishers, the article that you see on the screen right now, everybody knows the infamous Forbes article that came out in 2019. This one, interesting piece. I know, Montoya, you're in the room. Montoya did a piece on this and did a real breakdown on it. But this was almost more of a personal hit piece more than it was a hit piece on Star Citizen. There was information that was raised in here, whether truthful or not, about Chris, his history, about Sandy, and it wasn't actually going in after the game. They've raised questions about the amount of money that was being raised, but to me, it seemed like it was more, and I don't know why it was more of a personal highlighting of Chris more than it was about Star Citizen. So you guys got any thoughts on this one with Forbes, especially with it being Forbes magazine of all things?
I think that some of the stuff they posted was a bit below the belt. If it's the article I'm thinking about, talking about the personal stuff, I don't know why they shoot the journalists who put this out chose to go after this stuff. It felt more like it didn't feel like a Forbes piece. It felt like something more of a scandal for a tabloid or something like that. More than a Forbes piece.
It's just a dumbing down of journalism, as after Dan Rather was off the airwaves, it's just gone downhill to no end. There is no responsibility in journalism anymore. And now it's creeping into magazines like Forbes.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone as professional as them took the bait. I mean, Not Smart probably was talking to the fucking journalists about this shit on here too, because they always use him as a fucking source because he has nothing to do. He can't make games. He's talentless. But he's usually in every one of these fucking articles. I mean, how hard is it for someone like Forbes to get an interview from CIG? Right. Because the people who do, I forgot the name of them, the people who do the test with the frames and the resolution, I can't think of them right now, but they did a beautiful YouTube
Digital Foundry.
Digital Foundry. Yeah. They went there, did interviews on people, how the tech worked, how this and that worked, and were able to go to the studio. Hell, I was even able to go to the studio 2 times. I went to the Texas and the LA one. So you're telling me that I can go there and get a tour and talk to developers, and you lazy ass journalists can't do it? You look pathetic. You look like you're wasting your time in college, putting out a little puff piece, a rant piece against Star Citizen and not knowing what the fuck you're talking about. It looks very poorly, organized and talked about. Like, if you're gonna talk about the negative, you can talk about the negative. At least have the facts to back it up. Some of y'all just talk out your ass, like the selling the land. I didn't like that. Or when we almost have to pay to do the live stream, and they got backlash for that. I mean, cool, cover that, but don't just make up some bullshit that you're hearing from a not smart man who doesn't know how to push this tech out to feed the trolls. Yeah. Come on, you can go there and do your job. Email CIG, get a response. That's all you have to do. How hard is it?
And Kimmy makes a good point. Negativity sells more than positivity.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, very true. And Ms. Hart's asked the question about whether or not this was an independent writer, and that may have been another factor too. With a lot of the magazines and publishers, they no longer have staff writers. So what they do is they take submissions from other people who write in for stuff. So again, like you said, Gio, I felt like there was not a lot of homework done. I heard there was a lot of, that article seemed like it had a lot of hearsay, and you have to ask yourself, a magazine like Forbes, I think we've seen Newsweek has been able to get interviews directly inside. We've been able to see Digital Foundry, and you can't tell me that a magazine like Forbes, yes, it could not have had a direct contact with the developers and met with them. So I thought it was very wilted. It felt very outside. It felt very outside as far as the whole writing process went. To that,
dude, it's Forbes magazine. If they say, Chris Roberts, I need you here tomorrow in my office, he would have got.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Forbes is huge. That's why it's so reckless. Like, how are y'all that fucking reckless? Yeah. It is not that hard, bro, to get a tour in there.
Yeah, very true. This article that's up on screen now was just published just about about a week ago, maybe, fastcart, week 2 weeks ago. CCN.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's when it said they need a publisher.
CCN, and interesting if you read this, what they actually said in this article was $300 million Star Citizens development hell must be stopped. They actually said they need to stop raising money. That's actually what was the comment in this article. And I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier. In order for this game to be developed, you have to generate. You got 5. Is it 5 studios or 6 studios now, guys? I can't remember around the world. Is it 5 or 6? Do you remember what it is now that they have?
I believe it's
Is it 5? Okay, but
Germany, Texas, LA, UK.
And I thought they had some little side contract that they had with some other one, right?
Turbulent.
Yeah, Turbulent and that other one, yeah. So, but again, you got 500 plus, like you said earlier, Younique, 500 plus staff of people who are working globally on this game, and then people say, oh, well, they're making too much money, and I always have to deal with this issue about, when I see people say they need to stop selling ships. So my question becomes, okay, one of Chris's promises was that when you buy this game, when you pay for it, we will not have any, purchases outside of that, unless it's just cosmetic stuff. So how do you want them to generate money if you don't want them to sell ships? And first of all, nobody twists anybody's arms to buy ships. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard people swear.
How you think
people will say, I'm not going to spend any more money. And then a ship sale comes up, and what do people do? If they can't melt, they spend more money. There are new people that come into the game that spend money. So I don't know how you all expect them to pay the bills and pay the light bills, or pay for Chris's yacht, if you want to say that, if they're not generating money. And they got to generate money,
Well, here's what I know. If somebody writes an article like this, then your company no longer needs a publisher. It's the proof that you don't need a publisher. You're already worldwide. You're known. Here it is.
That's true.
Oh, and there was another studio. I think it's in Europe, but it starts with D. I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah, I can't think of what that one is either. I think, again, referencing Montoya, he did a video on this guy who wrote this. And ironically, the guy who wrote this, when you look at his Twitter account, he had less than 100 people on his Twitter account.
99.
Montoya had more.
Yeah, Montoya.
Montoya had 10 times what he had.
This website is just already, it's full. First of all, CCN, you're trying to be like CNN, and hopefully you're thinking like, okay, hopefully someone takes this and think it's CNN. They're using that little trick clickbait thing. Second of all, these motherfuckers are already known liars. With my job personally, they said we were cutting the shift or something. They didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And my job is still running good. So these motherfuckers are known liars. Just not only with video games, so they're just completely stupid. I wouldn't believe shit this site says. This is a terrible website.
Okay.
So just make sure you guys go in there. I mean, I don't know if y'all going to, whoever checks this website.
Check it out, but don't believe it,
and takes information.
All right.
Yeah, this is definitely they talk about lies all the time. And if Star Citizen needs to stop making money, maybe their website needs to stop making money too. Then, since that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, they don't need the internet to push out these shitty articles.
Yep. Kimmy.
Oh wait, they do. That does cost money to have an article pushed to the internet. You got to have internet. It's not free.
Kimmy, thanks for embracing it. The other studio was Derby. Thank you for dropping that in for us. I'm going to jump now. This is the new article that just came out a week ago. This is back on the 30th.
GTA 5 has been called the highest grossing entertainment product of all time. So
I'm sure Star Citizen will be right up there, too.
I can't wait for that game to come out and get a 6.5.
I am not going to be alive when it releases. I'm going to call it right now.
Brian, what have they released so far?
So it's been roughly about 7.5 years. Actually, it's more like 9 if you believe they started development in 2011. Short answer is not much. For starters, like we said, it's split into 2 games. There's a single player campaign called Squadron 42. It does have some big name people: Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, Gary Oldman, others. So
gamers
and gamer icons. They put out a sweet looking trailer for it. That was in 2018, but it's not expected to go into beta until sometime this year. Allegedly, don't hold your breath. Just say, that's a pro tip.
Okay, so according to them, they're just giving a little bit of background here. Some of it is bad information that they're giving. I want to go to the next clip that they say in relation, and this one is probably the more interesting one.
Oh, nothing there yet, but there is somewhat of a playable version of the second game, which is an MMO that's known as the Persistent Universe.
Great name.
That is a good name.
That's not bad.
At the end of 2019, the team put out its so-called Alpha 3.8 update, which added a new location called the Microtech Planet, as well as improved ship AI and improved close combat mechanics, but that does not mean that the end is anywhere in sight. According to the company's own roadmap, it'll still be an alpha by the end of 2020.
So they are making stuff, but it is a far cry, a game that has been made and come out many times over, from the vast scope that was promised in the game's original pitch. They promised a ton of star systems, not just planets, to explore on your very own ship.
Yeah, there was like what they promised, kind of like No Man's Sky a little bit. The game's Kickstarter said it would have a level of depth and quality that had never been seen
it's
before
not.
And wouldn't be seen because it would
they're crazy.
But its page said Star Citizen is a destination.
No Man's Sky was like millions
story.
and
it's
millions.
A complete universe where any number of adventures can take place, allowing players to decide their own game experience. It's one of those open-ended things that you think like, finally I can escape my life into like this game forever, but it's just fucking vaporware like this stuff.
All right, that's your favorite word. Gio, straighten your face up, brother. It's vaporware, he says. There are 2 points in here that really irritate me about these type of articles. And I know I'm trying to hold too high of a standard to some of these, but if you're going to try to do any form of backseat journalism, do your homework. They said that Squadron 42, the name of it was called the Persistent Universe. That was the first thing. So first of all, that meant they had no clue of what that meant. The second thing was when they used terms such as so-called update 3.8. There's inflammatory language that's used to create doubt. And this goes back to my question. When the gaming community is sowing seeds of doubt about a game that has the possibility to change the way we play video games. Where does that come from? I mean, it'd be different. I guarantee you, none of these three jokers who are up here have ever probably loaded the game and played it more than 5 minutes. And it'd be different if these people said I've played the game, I had problems, it was buggy, blah, blah, blah. I never hear that. I just hear these people giving criticisms for something that to me seems like you haven't even tried to load the game up. Give me some thoughts.
And it's not like the game never have free flies. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
No, this is standard. I want to be a YouTube star bullshit. That's what that is. YouTube has created some of the most terrible people that I've ever had the misfortune to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, and then this motherfucker playing the most basic game. No hate on it because I have it myself, but you playing a basic ass game like Animal Crossing, and you want to get snooty about the shit that Star Citizen is trying to do. It just doesn't make any sense. That game is so basic to compare what Star Citizen is doing, and like they'll sit there and like, oh yeah, we're getting a lot of hate in the comments because motherfuckers are checking them. I hate when it happens. If someone checks you because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, that ain't hate, my man. That's called you need to do your goddamn research. Because if I went on and talk about some shit about Fortnite, which I don't even fucking play, and I'm saying something false about it, and I get checked, I can't say, they hating on me. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Yeah. So a lot of these people who make videos like this, they need to actually look up. It's not hard. It's not like a closed development game. Like with Cyberpunk, we don't know what the fuck's going on. We just know it's delayed. And I would love to know more about what's going on or some of these other games that even came out. Like we could see the train before it even happened, like Fallout 76, like Kemi said. That was a fucking train wreck. And I knew that game, it sounded like it was going to be too good to be true anyways. So I just wish people would watch a couple episodes. That's what I first did when I came in. Because I want to come in hating Star Citizen, because I came from No Man's Sky. I'm like, all right, I'm about to shut these motherfuckers down. I'm tired of talking about No Man's Sky. I went in there. I checked all their videos. I checked their websites. I'm like, holy shit. I've been missing out. Like, this is amazing how much information and them showing us how it's getting made. Like, this is beautiful. So I automatically got away from attack mode. But I guess some of these guys, they get it from the not smart camp. And, that's a cult in itself right there. The motherfuckers that hate Star Citizen, they will sit there and find every video and every article and try to hop on and just have a little hate fest and try to trigger people, but they end up looking like the stupid ones. So that's really who they're trying to appeal to.
Well, the question now becomes like, when does the point becomes like the us versus them? Like, there's more people who are for Star Citizen than people who are against Star Citizen. Because maybe it's because I'm on the inside to feel like there are more people against Star Citizen, but I really don't know because I don't want. I shouldn't really say this, but I am in kind of a bubble because I do listen to other podcasts that pro Star Citizen as opposed to trying to get a balance. But people who are against Star Citizen don't seem to have that back straight most of the time, so it's hard for me to like listen to people like that.
Well, there's no requirement to have journalistic integrity anymore, and there's also no requirement to go find out facts for yourself because you can just search it on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook and find out the actual facts of life.
Yeah.
It was on one of their videos they said one time. It was like, people always say blah this, that, and how to make the game. It was like, but you show me a game, how do you make an open development $250 game? This was at the time. Like you tell us how to do it. I'm like, all right, that's true. Like motherfucker, where do you start? Like, they're doing it. I really believe that this game may have started or restarted itself back in when did they get rid of those third-party studios?
3 times.
All
of them.
When they had all these third-party companies before they actually had all the studios around the world, they wouldn't probably never admit this because they'll catch a lot of flack because everyone's like, 8 years, it's been 8 years. 2 of those, I think, was pretty much got trashed out. That's just me. I don't know for sure. I haven't talked to anybody, but there was a lot of fucking up. Like the old Connie door, when you walk in it had like 1 million polys in there because of the third party company that they used fucked it up so bad. So they had to go back, fix all that. Like there was a lot of things that the other studios fucked up. That's why everything had to be made in-house and kind of remade to be thrown in lumberyard.
Well, a lot of people too didn't realize. I mean, and this is a sad part about game development. Most players don't know anything about it. I mean, Star Citizen talks about being transparent. Actually, I think they're very transparent. If you go to their YouTube page, there are hundreds of videos out there talking about, I mean, just all types of stuff. So it's not for lack of information. They put, I mean, you know, some of us remember back in the old Wingman's Nuts days, you know, when it was very basic, when there was maybe 8, 10 people, 12 people working in the studio, and we've watched that grow over the years. And there's no game.
It was in Texas,
yeah, absolutely. There's no game. I mean, listen, I'm an old school gamer. I've been gaming since freaking back when there was freaking Pong, right? So can nobody talk to me about game development? I've watched games develop over the years. Y'all remember when Microsoft 1.0 was a green screen, green on black, and that was it. So I've watched game development take place. I haven't been completely on the inside from an industry standpoint, but I do know enough about when I watch these videos and I watch the development process and I listen to these guys. I had some computer backgrounds. I mean, Younique's got tremendous computer backgrounds. I mean, there's a lot of intelligent people out here who are not idiots, and they can look at the evidence of what's out there to say, yeah, like any business, you're going to have those hurdles. You're going to have those times when you take a step forward and maybe 2 steps back. But I will, and I'm not saying this is a white knight. CIG has proven themselves that they listen to the community, for one. When we bark about stuff enough, they do listen. Even though Chris has always said he wanted to make the game. He didn't say, I want to make the game you guys want to play. He said, I want to make the game I want to play. And the question is, do you want to get on that boat and ride on it? And sometimes there are things that they do. Maybe we don't like it. But it always seems like whenever there's this big tension that comes up about whether they're going to deliver and come through, each time when it finally comes out, we take a deep breath and say, okay, it's not as bad as we thought it was. And there are those people on the outside, I agree with you 100%, fastcart, who want to see failure. They really do. And that hurts my heart as a gamer, because gamers should be trying to look for stuff to be better all the time. And as much money as we've thrown at these developers who put out nothing but crap over the last 15 to 20 years, and then somebody comes out and says, I want to do something different, and we throw shade at them right off the bat without evidence.
Yeah, I'd rather see someone like raise the boat for everyone than try to go for the lowest common denominator. But I mean, other people disagree. That's fine, but there's no reason to, like, you know, risk failure on other games just because you're not interested in it. Like it would be like saying like, if I don't like Cutlass, I think all Cutlass are crash or something like that. Because it's just silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Ms. Hart says here, not only do they listen, in the past 3 years, they created a dedicated position to collect player feedback and then expanded it into a team. So we do know that they are paying attention. I mean, I remember when we complained about something as simple as struts, right? You know, now struts have become a joke, right? They even put struts on ships just to make us laugh, but they listen to the community. Hover mode, they listen to the community. I mean, you know, and I don't know, maybe that cynicism comes from the fact that we've been fed so much crap. Like you mentioned earlier, Gio, some of us have gotten burned, right? We've put the money out there to support independent companies and they didn't deliver. So maybe some of the cynicism does come from that. But I would hope that, you know, most of us feel that when this game comes out, and I think somebody said this earlier about the development, they spent the first early years developing the tools so that they can finally make the game that we want. People didn't get that. People just kept seeing,
not just making tools, making the company too.
Right, building the company out. But I mean, people were focusing on the doors that they put in the studio and all this other weird stuff, you know, not understanding that they were trying to build. Well, you know what? I think about, you know, I live in.
Someone did it for free, though. That's the
right.
funny
They
thing.
donated that. That's a whole other story.
Someone in the studio donated and did that for free. People are like, oh, you spent $100,000 on the door. Like, dumb fuck. You dumb fuck. Go to the studio tour. You may actually learn something, but, you know, sit there and be a troll in mommy's basement because that's all you're ever good at. So.
And Gio lives in the same city I do. There's a building here called the Sears Tower, one of the tallest buildings, right? And when they built the Sears Tower, these cats had to dig out a hole in the ground, and they were down there for months, man. I mean, months underground. Nothing was going on. You sitting there, come driving by every day. When they gonna build the building? When they gonna build the building? But once the foundation was laid, the building shot up, and it became the tallest thing that's out there. So developing this game, they're doing tools and tech that have never been done before. A lot of people don't get that because they're just used to, like you said earlier, the same old engines. They get turning out the same old stuff. All they do is just gloss it up a little bit better. But they don't realize how much work is really going in to develop Star Citizen. I'm through talking. Y'all talk.
Well, they had a huge turn when they decided, once they got into mocap. I mean, they were doing characters without motion capture first. So suddenly you have a mocap studio that got paid for, and you got to learn how to do that. And now all your tech has to change in order to support that. So that was a big turn in cost right there. And nobody's complaining that the game's got mocap now.
Yeah, I remember freaking out a little bit when I heard that they bought the mocap. I was like, holy smoke, that ain't no joke. Because originally they were renting out a facility, but then they went and bought their own. I was like, oh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, not only did they get their own performance capture stuff, they got Andy Serkis.
Yes.
To help them with it.
Yeah, but it's really smart to bring it in-house, because that is actually a resource now that they can rent out when they're kind of not needing it or need it less. They can then rent it out, and it becomes an income-based thing.
Younique, can you talk about that a little bit, about them doing that with the tools as well? Because a lot of people don't get that, about how the industry later on, they could do the same thing with their tools.
Oh, absolutely. Like all the tools that they have, they can now lease out, sell out to other companies. The graphic engine and the tech that they've built, the what is it, the streaming, what do they call it, SOCs? That kind of technology, that's going to change, and they'll be able to license that out to other companies that can build other games utilizing that technology.
Especially other companies.
I mean, think about, what is it, what's that driving car game thing?
GTA?
Yeah, GTA. Think about GTA if you had like SOCs built into that thing, and it no longer had to be LA, it had to be the whole US.
Wow.
Y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you with that. I think Amazon Lumberyard is gonna have all their hands on all this tech. It's gonna be exclusive to Lumberyard, and that's why, in my opinion, I don't know this for sure. This is just Geo talk. That's why the Amazon Lumberyard is so important. That partnership not only does it legitimize. That's it. I had an edible. You guys gotta excuse me. Not only does it do that, but with Amazon hopping in, it makes them look better. But we're also gonna get, I think, the free servers on their end. If you ask me, I think that's what that partnership was all about. We didn't hear too much about it. It was all hush hush, but they're going to get access to all the tech that we're getting. So all the stuff that Star Citizen is doing, all this, the planetary tech and all these graphics, crazy stuff that's going in, Lumberyard is going to get that as well, because Amazon owns that. It was smart on Amazon to do that, because I'm pretty sure when Chris had a meeting with them, he showed them probably shit we probably haven't even seen, probably years in advance, on top of what he has. Like, look, we could do this, that, and that's how the partnership, I think, formed up. People kind of sweep that under the rug, but I think that was a big partnership, and everyone's like, oh, how are we going to run the game? How the server costs going to go? Ain't got to worry about it. Amazon going to have it, but they're going to have our tech in turn.
Well, let's talk about something, the word you use is critical here, is partnerships, right? Because partnerships also mean reputation, and you have to question yourself and say, are certain people going to risk their reputation on a scam? Right? Is Amazon going to do it? No. Is Intel going to do it? No. Is AMD going to do it? No. So, when people want to run this thing about it being a scam, you have to look at who are the partners who've been supporting this thing and pushing it just as much.
Hell, Comcast as well. I remember reading the newspaper. I'm like,
that's true.
Chris is on here.
Yeah, I remember that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I think that he did an ad. He probably got something in return. With some Comcast gear, who knows? Some free internet.
And I agree with you. I believe that Amazon is going to be an integral part. We know that the Lumberyard engine is a factor. The new game coming out, was it called New World or New Order, whatever the new game that's coming out? That's going to be it. And I'm sure Amazon was understanding the dynamics of gaming, right? I mean, they got Twitch and everything else, right? These guys are looking for the entree points for the most premium stuff that they're going to be able to push out. And if CIG is helping them in the sense of the tech side of that, let alone you've got a global game right now. Star Citizen is literally going to be a globally played game that's going to be using Amazon's servers, as you mentioned. You're talking about an incredible partnership. And so,
it's genius, especially from both sides.
Yeah, everybody wins.
CIG servers, Amazon is getting all this awesome tech because they get in the game engine world. you got to think about it. We got CryEngine, we got Unreal, Unity. I mean, it's not that many like awesome engines that really push the game to the limit. So you're basically letting this company do all the hard work for you. This indie development team that's showing better tech than pretty much anybody right now, even AAA developers. And you're gonna get all their tech. Oh, it's fucking genius.
What were you thinking, Younique? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was good for Amazon, but you got to remember, Chris Roberts made a bad deal with Google. That was like one of the worst ideas to put.
When was that?
On that platform. That's where they were first as far as the computing platform. And so they got to get off of that and move to Amazon. So it was kind of a 50-50 deal.
Well,
like he saved them from a bad decision.
Well, they were using their servers though, right? The Google servers.
It was
He's asking, were they using the Google servers? What was the exact deal with Google? I don't
know the details of the deal. I just know that was the original selection for the dynamic platforms out there. And it's like, man, if you're doing dynamic platform, I was like, wow, that's a huge mistake.
Oh, well, yeah, they were had to switch. Well, they were paying them, right? Because at first they had to pay for the Crytek engine, and then they had to pay Google. So now they just eliminated all their costs, joining with Crytek, the engine costs, and now they're using their server on top of Lumberyard. So I think it's genius now.
Well, from a financial standpoint, but it's also a much better technology with many more servers and worldwide access points for the player.
Oh, exactly.
And to the point, you guys remember in this new article that was written this last week, they talked about this the investor who took their option to. Are you going to mention? Go ahead, fastcart. You can talk about it.
So, like a couple of years ago, 2018, there was some investors were brought in to help the funding of STAR Citizen, but most people don't misunderstand or don't understand that from my understanding, that they were going to be for advertising only. The crowdfunding money that CIG brings in, the 250 million, 275 million, or whatever it is at the moment, that's for funding the game, the production cost of the game. The investors are for marketing, because normally when a publisher put out a game, like 4/5 of the cost goes to marketing, and 1/5 goes into making the game. But Chris Roberts didn't want to do it that way, so he brought in outside investors to take care of the marketing, while we, the backers, take care of the production.
Exactly, and people don't understand that. They think that because they're putting money in, there were some people who were saying, oh, they must be short or they must be running low. If we go back and look at the record of the income that CIG has been making, they've been making more money each year. In fact, last year they made more money than they had ever made before. In the first 3 months of this year, they've made more money than they did last year. So
not only they're probably at the point of June. We're in April now. I think we're at June from last year.
And even with the market being the way it is right now, things are kind of slowing down. People are joking around about if they get a stimulus check, they might be buying a ship just to joke around. We don't want to recommend people do that, but the reality of it is people find a way to still spend money, even when economic times are difficult, because there are people who this is what they do. I mean, there's some people who can spend $500 a month in a bar buying drinks for their friends, and there are other people who say, "Hey, I'm going to go buy a ship." That's what they do. So again,
some people buy their own bowling or bowling shoes.
Whatever it is, right? Now some people say, it's a JPEG, but I think that people keep forgetting you're not just buying into a game, you're buying into a vision or a dream or what you hope will change gaming for everybody, not just the people who play Star Citizen, but hopefully this game will actually change the trajectory of what's been going on in the video game industry. Because to be honest with you, and you said something earlier, Gio, that really stuck with me. I remember when I first started playing dice games, when I got in and started playing these games where you could destroy stuff. I mean, that was new. It was exciting, and now it's like, where has that gone? We've been disappointed by these large. How do you screw up Star Wars? I mean, not to be funny, how do you screw up Star Wars? I mean, you've got a built-in audience, you've got a built-in lore set up, and yet and still, when Battlefront 2 came out, it was a disappointment. Now, EA has gone back and fixed some things and made it better, but the question is, how do you mess up stuff like that?
Still not better than the old Battlefront.
The original,
was more innovating than the new one that EA got a hold of. And then you have DICE, because if you think about it, the old Battlefront is kind of in line with Battlefield. Like how you got the destruction, or you have an AT-AT instead of a tank, or you have the X-wing and stuff with the fighter. So it was made for them, and they just kind of like veered away from it. Like they had in I think it was Battlefront 4 or was it 3 or 4 when production got canceled. I forgot which one. But if you look at some of the old footage, you could have a battle on the planet, get in a ship, fly like on Star Citizen, and go fight in space, all at the same time in the old engine. What the fuck happened? EA, like y'all let that old engine outdo you. Like you couldn't do what the old studio did. Like it's unreal. I really don't understand that. And that's why when I tell people, you're not buying Star Citizen, you're backing. You're backing the tech you see. I'm not sitting there, oh, I'm buying the game. No, I'm backing this project. I support it. I like what they're doing. I want them to get it pushed out. It'll be a finished product. Once it's a finished product, then you're buying it. But right now, we're backing a dream, a vision, and we love what we're seeing.
Well, your first package, you are buying the game. Spend $65. Don't spend any more money. You bought the game. And
yeah, you don't have to go anymore.
But if you buy any more than that, you are backing the game.
Yeah.
Just 65 or even 45 just for one.
Yeah. But more than that, you buy a second ship or a second package, you're now backing the game, and that's a completely different thing.
And if you got any doubts about the game, if you're watching this and you're curious about Star Citizen, I mean, all the guys, this is a coincidence, but everybody who's on here is in TEST Squadron, and we can tell you, if you're in TEST Squadron, if you don't own a certain ship, usually all you got to do is drop in Discord and say, hey, does anybody have a such and such? Can I fly? People will spawn the ship for you, let you take it out and fly it. Fastcart mentioned earlier that there's free fly weekends, sometimes free fly weeks. You know, we would encourage you to try the game out for yourself. I know at this point, I don't know anybody who's gotten into the game at this point and said, nah, I don't like it. I haven't had anybody who I've introduced to the game that they just got totally turned off by it. Hey, Reload, thanks for following. So there's still a whole lot that we're going to see develop through this. This extra money that was put in, and I was trying to make a comment about this earlier, that this extra money that was put in, we believe, at least I believe, that it was because they said, hey, we see where this game is about to go. We see what's about to kick off with Squadron 42. And we decided to take our option to put another 17 million into the game. Now that's what I think. I don't think it's because they're hurting or they're suffering, because the numbers don't reflect that. The numbers reflect they are bringing in the dough.
It could have been a timeline on that contract too, though.
Yeah, for their option.
It could have been
their option.
Yeah, for the option, they could have been like, hey, but you got to do it before, April or, quarter two. I don't know.
You know what? It also happened after the Crytek deal was settled. That's another factor. You know what I'm saying? It happened after Crytek. It also happened.
But you also got to look at what do you get. So if you put in 17 million more, what do you get? Right?
It's a lot of money.
They're probably going to get another percentage or two of the future deals that are coming out.
And like I said, these companies that Chris are showing for these partnerships, he's showing them the top shit. He's probably showing them that big ass Pegasus ship on Squadron 42. There's still so many ships we have not seen in Squadron 42 that are not done. Like all the Van Duel stuff, we're probably not going to see. And once we see it again, we're like, holy shit, no wonder stuff took so long. Like the King ship, the King ship alone could probably take 2 years in a regular video game. Like, damn.
CIG is a gaming company. So I'm sure he's showing investors other ideas for future games after this comes out that they're also working. It's like, look, after we're done with this, here's our roadmap to the next game 2, game 3, possibly game 4.
Squadron 43.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually know Squadron 42 in itself is going to have 3 books.
Right. And people don't even know that. I mean, most people don't know that. They just hear Star Citizen and that's it. They don't get the whole idea of the universe versus the individual chapters or games that are going to get released later on.
I mean, there can still be Legos. I remember they won that Lego contest. I don't know. I think that may have fell through, but it could be Lego sets, comics. Like there's going to be all kinds of stuff coming out, books.
We haven't even gotten into franchise stuff yet. Yeah. Flame, thanks for stopping by and thanks for following. Okay. Well, anyway, listen, we are at the end of our time together. We hopefully that we covered some good things to you guys. Moonrunner, thanks for following. Hopefully, we answered some questions from you guys. If you guys have any questions and you want to, we also have a thing where we go into our Discord for a few minutes right after the show. And if you want to talk to us or ask us any questions, you can do that by looking at the bottom of our page, clicking on the Discord. It'll take you right into our general chat. And hopefully, Gio, if you got a few minutes, and Younique, if you got a couple of minutes, we'll be in there for a few minutes. If you want to come in and say hi or ask us any questions about anything in the show, it will be a great thing. Ops Chief, you don't like this game? Okay, well, you can get on the Reddit refund list, and you don't have to get the game. He's just teasing. But we won't talk about who started the Reddit refund list. But there's still some hating going on out there, even too, guys. Even today, which still kind of blows my mind.
Just make a smart decision. If you've never seen the game, do the research for yourself. That's what I did. I didn't let no one.
Whoa, slow down. You said make a smart decision. Is that the word you really wanted to use? Is that what you really want?
Oh, man.
I was going to let it slide. I heard him say it. I had the same reaction. I was just going to let it slide.
I said it's subconscious.
Okay.
Give him a break. Give him a break. Not smart son.
Don't make a not smart decision. Don't make this one. The Star Citizen cannot be done because I am totally fucking ignorant. Don't make that type of smart decision. Actually, do your research, look it up. There's probably thousands of hours worth of videos where you can watch and look, see what's coming, and you'll be able to figure it out. That's what I did.
Stop by our group and hit us up. I'll happily show you around.
I bought a ship. I was so thrilled about this project. I bought a ship before I even had a PC to play it.
Ouch.
All the hang stuff. I kind of missed all that.
Console player, right?
Yeah, I was still buying ships. I had no PC. I had like a little shitty laptop. This was an arcade kit. That was the only game I was able to play, and I was still help develop this game. Like, this shit got to get done because nobody's doing it. Because you look at like the PlayStation 2 era up to like the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I think that was like a golden age of game. Like we had some real good games then, and it seems like after that, they kind of it's been going down. I haven't been seeing nothing cool. So
all right. Well, listen. Hopefully, next time we see you guys next week, we're going to be doing a show on trailers from the different ships of Star Citizen. But the week after that, we are hoping and praying Update 3.9 should be out. We know that the Evocati's been pushing on it, and they're getting closer and closer to it. We'll be able to talk about the prison system. We'll be able to talk about the Idris, which everybody can't wait to see. We'll be able to talk about what it means to eat food in Star Citizen and drink in Star Citizen to see if it's as bad as everybody thinks it's going to be. So there's a lot of stuff that we'll be covering.
Oh, hell no. They late with 3.9. This obviously a scam. I don't care if coronavirus is going on. It's a scam because they didn't do it all the time.
They took the Idris out of 3.9. So
I don't care if they
not going to see that.
It's a scam.
All right. Well, anyway, we're going to go ahead and set up and see who we can raid tonight. I'm not sure who you want to send out to.
Man, Gio, you stole my line because I was going to do the same thing you just did, but you did it better than I did.
All right, guys. Well, listen, we want to say good night. Thank you guys for sitting in with us tonight, and be sure to come back next Sunday, 7 p.m. Come back anytime. Follow us if you're not following us on Twitter. Yes, 7 times Central. Thank you for because fastcart has to remind me because he's on the East Coast. But both to Younique and to Gio. Listen, man, we want to see you back in the universe, man. I know you took a little break, but it's good to see you, man. It's happy to see your smiling face back in the Star Citizen community.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Man. Yeah, we're gonna do some.
All right, sounds good.
And I know most of us are older black men, but I hope this episode didn't raise our black.
Oh, the old man joke. The old man joke. Ain't this a trip?
Y'all made mine go up. I haven't seen that not smart motherfucker in years. I couldn't believe he's still relevant.
All right. Anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Love, peace, and soul. We'll see you guys later. Take care.